season 4 of the We Talk series. We are deep into a world of work that only knows constant transformation. In this world, HR and talent leaders are on their toes to remain prepared with strategies for workforce, talent, and business. This world brings us the opportunity to learn something new every day. And today is another such day with another expert. The VTalk series invites the most prominent HR leadership voices to share their amazing experiences and learnings on and around the HR ecosystem. So joining us today is Nitin Sachdeva, Director Talent at BharatPe. A quick introduction about Nitin before we start. So with close to 15 years of experience, Nitin's competency lies in both operational and strategic HR practices. A proponent of the people-first approach, Nitin strongly believes that organizations succeed through their people. He has been instrumental in creating a high-performance culture in his previous organizations, enabling businesses and people to grow together. With this, a very warm welcome, Nitin. It is indeed a delight to have you with us today.
Thank you, Besaki.
So looking forward to an interesting discussion, and to set in the context, my first question for you would be, as we all know that the skill shortage is something we are constantly talking about. So if I talk about you and your industry demands, what type of skill shortage do you think is causing the talent war? If you can set in the context with this.
Sure, Besaki, thanks a lot. So I believe we will have to dissect this question a little bit because when you say it in general, skill shortage in a particular, era or let's say a time period, we don't generally get to the root cause of the problem, right? I think the way our country is progressing, there are a lot more graduates, postgraduates that are, coming out of colleges every year. So there is no skill shortage in general. But if you look at very specifically, any kind of industry or any kind of particular skill set, then you can actually identify the root cause. So when I talk about, tech-based industry, when I talk about, financial or business services, right? There is something that, we find a skill shortage today because both these industries are evolving right now. And the combination of these industries, which is fintech, is even more evolving, right? So that's where we kind of feel that, there is a shortage of the skilled workforce. And when you talk about the skilled workforce, the particular skill sets that we're talking about are around tech. Now, if I go purely by research, there have been multiple studies, and the recent, report by Conferry, it says that there's a global talent shortage of about 85.2 million people, particularly in financial and business services, and as well as the technology companies. So that is going to happen by 2030, and there will be a strong hiring demand and changing skill requirements, which is even making it harder for, businesses or industries like us to find the right skill set. Now, it is important to understand the right skill set, and probably will, define it later. But that's the scenario. Now, if you look at India's situation, it is not better. We are already facing a shortage of this kind of manpower. And there's a recent study by Team Lee's report, which says, which is titled as Skills for a Strong, Sustainable and Balanced Workforce, which says that, India will need 30 million digitally skilled professionals by 2026. So India's giant leap in this world of technology is throwing further challenges, which is widening the skill gap today. There is a report that said 75% of the companies in the tech industry will face the skill gap. And that's why there's a need not only to find the right talent, but also to reskill your existing talents with the newer technologies on AI, ML, etc. Now, with this, it is also becoming increasingly important for companies as well as professionals to constantly, work on reskilling, constantly work on learning of their respective talent, which is in-house. Requirement is not only for the tech team, I believe, it is also for those who partner with tech, right? It could be all the other enabling functions to also understand the application of these new age technologies. If in HR, I believe that, I will not adopt to AI or ML, I'll be fooling myself, or any other, enabling function will be fooling themselves. Because if I have to, hire the right talent, I need to equally understand these technologies better. So now in case of fintech specifically, there has been a growing demand, especially for data science, AI, cybersecurity, and blockchain professionals. The increasing demand for these skills is already leading to the shortage of talent, and this will get even worse over the period of time if we don't, actually enable our existing workforce as well. There is a supply gap that exists today, which often leads to prolonged hiring times for these roles, and that's where another challenge for me comes in. The job vacancies are rising faster than the number of job applicants, so there is that gap of demand versus supply. And additionally, the workplace is evolving so rapidly that a large number of workforce is not equipped with the requisite skills to function in the newly digital focused workplace. So this is making it difficult for TA professionals. All in all, I think having the right skill set for the specific industry, for the specific role is really important. And that's where, you need to dissect and find the root cause.
That's amazing. That's like you're really setting the context well, especially when you touched upon those data points. And towards the end, you mentioned while completing your sentence that having the right skill set. So with that, the next question that actually comes to my mind is that the importance of soft skills. So how do you see the importance of soft skills evolving in the future? If you can share your thoughts on that.
Sure. So I think soft skills not only support your working relationships, but also determine your success when you work with clients and business partners. And I think this is consistent across levels. There's always this myth that, leaders, you should have better soft skills than a frontline person. I believe every individual, whether it's a frontliner or a leader, there is there is a necessary requirement of soft skills to be developed. It could vary in the degree, but I think it is required. Employers today seek employees that they can trust to represent the company in a professional and a polite manner. So even my salesperson who is going to represent the company in an outside or external environment has to be trained on those soft skills. Soft skills help employees differentiate between candidates who are qualified for a job and candidates who can exceed expectations, right? So that is where you actually put extra effort into your professional relationships also. Soft skill, we also refer it to sometimes human skills, relate to the way employees work and interact with others. And it differs from your core hard or technical skills, which are very, very role or function specific. Now, this could vary from a range of communication to negotiation, interpersonal, empathy, team management, adaptability, etc., etc. As more and more job activities become automated, I think soft skills will be the key differentiators because they cannot be replicated by machines, right? So you need to be really standing out on those soft skills, and some of them which are of great importance, let me just call it, because there are plethora of soft skills, but I'll try and focus on 4 or 5 of them. So number one for me is empathy and emotional intelligence in today's world, because AI and machine learning will become all pervasive, and empathy will become one of the most important skills to hire for. Emotionally intelligent teams will definitely have a competitive advantage, and today even in the leadership, with IQ, EQ is becoming equally important. So how your teammates, how your customers, how your reportees are going to feel about is all an outcome of that empathy and emotional intelligence. It will require self-awareness. It will require better listening. It will require acceptance of that and then working towards this particular skill. The second one is having self-motivated and self-directed workers who have intrinsic motivation requiring less oversight by the management. And this will be hugely in demand in future, because you can't be operating as micromanagers. You have to have a team member, or let's say a peer, who is self-motivated and self-directed, right? So that's another soft skill which I truly believe we should focus on. The third one, which I think the world is talking about, is mindfulness. It's a soft skill that builds on other skills. Employees who are mindful tend to be more emotionally intelligent again. They are more adaptable. Mindful people stay more focused during difficult situations. So mindfulness is the amplifier of all the other soft skills, as it cultivates the awareness and discretion to know how to respond in a centered, balanced way across diverse situations. So these are 3 on my top list. And of course, there are many more which you can talk forever.
Rightly mentioned, the more automation takes over, the importance of soft skills will, gradually evolve further. And thank you the way you segregated the soft skills according, in a priority basis. That was really insightful. So Nitin, I'm quite inquisitive to know that BharatPe is a new age company. So new generation is something you have been seeing day in and day out. So if I may ask that, what is your take on the new generation entering the workforce? And most importantly, how do their expectations differ from that of the previous generation? So if you can shed some light on that.
Yeah, Bisaki, I think this is the problem or the challenge, let's say, which is again faced by a lot of growth companies like us, especially for BharatPe, where the average age is less than 30. I think we mostly have Gen Z in our organization, and Gen Z, they've grown up in a very different world. They have grown up in a world of constant technological advancements, global connectivity, and different kind of social change. They are more aware, they're more demanding, they're far more agile when it comes to adopting new technologies, right? Having an inclusive mindset with willingness to learn new things and the constant search for the challenges makes Gen Z unique. They also have higher expectations as compared to the former generations like us, especially when it comes to their career. They objectively evaluate companies. When I speak to these candidates, they actually evaluate the company while we are also evaluating them, whether they would want to work for us or not, right? And that's on the overall that on the overall impact the companies are creating on the ground. So they're very purpose driven. They're not looking at a product or let's say a technology that the company is using. They're also linking it to the ultimate purpose of the organization. And for BharatPe, let's say when we say that our purpose is defined around serving the underprivileged or the less privileged merchants or retailers of this country, I think that's the larger purpose that they're also associating themselves with, right? As an employer, it is really important that you should understand and act on their expectations so that the best out of this tech savvy generation of workers can be harnessed. I think there are a lot of expectations, but if I have to again list it down, I would start with freedom of thought. Gen Z tends to possess a unique point of view regarding everything they come across and come up with really out of the box solutions to various problems. So it becomes really important that the organization builds a culture that encourages them to open up, speak their mind. Leaders should be okay to take views, criticism, feedback if they are leading a team of Gen Z. So that's really, really important for us as leaders to work in that direction. The second would be flexibility at workplace. This again tops the list of expectations of Gen Z because they don't look at work-life balance as we used to look at it. They look at more as work-life integration. They want to look at opportunities they can truly perform without compromising their freedom. And as an employer, one needs to address this by implementing flexible workplace schedules. It is not about only working from home, I think, Bisaki. It is more about, how do you really integrate whether you are at home or at work, but you are solely purpose driven and kind of integrating your work and life together. So companies should provide those opportunity to Gen Z to learn and add new skills to add to their kitty. The third would be transparency at the workplace or having a transparent work culture. Gen Zs are highly intuitive and observant about the circumstances around them. There are also those who don't refrain from standing up against situations they feel strongly about. Now, having a transparent culture hence becomes very, very crucial. When you have Gen Z employees, it increases their confidence in the employer and also boosts their productivity in the workplace. The fourth one will be, the scope of learning and, their career development. They always are curious, which really feeds their willingness to keep learning. For Gen Z, learning and development I've seen will always be a top priority, even if you give them a short-term project or a long-term, role to fill in. They would always look at what is the kind of learning that they're having. And once that learning stops, they are then looking out. So it's not the usual promotion. It's not the usual salary hike. It is, whether they are learning during the course of that role or not. And maybe, a program where the Gen Z could work across different teams can be a great USP for this set. The fifth one would be, as I said that, they are so technologically advanced, so that access to latest technology becomes a top priority for them. they really want to work with tech oriented companies or tech first companies. So the productivity of Gen Zers is directly related to technology. They are brought up in an environment, as I said, where they have been in constant touch with the latest technology. So they are so reliant on technology that they often find it challenging to cope with a different work environment that operates, using traditional methods. So for us, I mean, I don't think it's a problem because we are a tech first company any which way, but it is recommended that an organization creates that enabling environment where Gen Zs, have access to latest technologies. They work around technology. And the last one in my mind would be, a less bureaucratic culture, which, I think it won't be wrong to term Gen Zs as rule breakers who wish to work on their own terms to give the best. While there should be a certain discipline, but it should not be bureaucratic. Gen Zs like to enjoy their freedom and have their own space wherever, they are going. They highly disregard any action aimed towards controlling their thoughts. So, and I think that's the environment that we've been given to our people, at least, that they are allowed to speak wherever, whatever they want to. They are allowed to challenge whether you're a leader or a peer or a team member. So I think that cuts the bureaucracy in the system. It is very transparent for us. So I think if Gen Zs are the future of the workplace, I think you have to build around these priorities, these expectations to really attract that young talent and, really give them a career in your organization.
I did not mention how well you have described the entire situation, and I'm quite sure that you being a leader in this particular talent space, it's amazing at your end also to see this gradual shift in the generation. Nitin, we have talked about skills, we have talked about the talent scarcity, we have talked about the new generation entering the workforce, which are some of the essential pillars when it comes to a employer branding point of view. So, if I may ask, rather, if you can shed some light on your employer branding strategy, and most importantly, how has it evolved over the past few years?
So I think this is the closest topic for me because especially for BharatPe, when we started about a year back, we really wanted to build on a very positive brand image. Now today, if you ask me, we have a very well thought, thorough employer branding strategy with the objective of ensuring a differentiated positioning in the market for the company amongst the other competitors. We focus a lot on building a great work culture, one that inspires team members to do the impactful work and motivates them to come to work every single day. I truly believe what we follow internally actually reflects outside to the outside world as well. Now, if we have strong, true brand advocates, I think the stories will automatically come out for an external world as well, and that's where we really strive to work. We have run a host of initiatives from time to time to harbor that entrepreneurship, in the organization, better collaboration across teams. For instance, we have launched I Am in BharatPe, which caters to total employee well-being, wherein we have organized, our first ever BharatPe Cricket League in the October last year. The event witnessed an overwhelming participation across functions, across locations, and it kind of, helped people to come together from various geographies, various teams. We also launched I Belong, which is, which talks about our culture here in Bharat, which talks about our values, our purpose, which is so linked today to what we are doing. And that really drives the motivation for the employee to, associate with the organization. We are working on a couple of marquee initiatives around entrepreneurship, applauding the great work done by people across teams, inviting ideas across the organization so that we can build on those ideas. And you get a larger buy-in when you are building on an employee's idea, right? So then you can actually cultivate that culture of entrepreneurship within the organizations. And that's what our employer branding strategy is. Over the years, employer branding has evolved to become a lot more 360-degree in nature, encompassing all possible channels. And with a diverse range of workforce in young brands like ours, we're investing a lot more on social media to build our employer brand. Also, we are trying to instill a culture of belongingness, as I said earlier, something I believe is essential for building a solid foundation for the organization.
for sharing those views. And it's indeed a pleasure to hear how, as an organization, BharatPe has been embracing the change and moving forward with a very optimistic mindset. So with that, I'll come to my last question, and this is one of our favorite questions when we talk to any tier leaders. So more than 15 years in this space. So I'm kind of very curious to know that if you can share some of the most prominent challenges that you have faced in the TA space, and also if you can share some strategies to overcome them.
So I think the success of any organization, in my experience, depend on two crucial things: its product, service, and its people, or human capital. Now, unless an organization has the requisite talent, it cannot achieve these targets. Although every organization that I've worked with, leaders are always business focused. But I think in the last 5+ years or so, leaders also have shifted this mindset that we need to be equally critical about talent and business, right? So it targets, even if it possesses all other resources, including infrastructure, technology, right products, but and you spend $1 million of on all this, but you don't have the right talent, I think it will be a limiting factor for the success of the organization. So the process of talent acquisition is not as simple as it is made out to be. It starts with the identifying the right talent, which is, and I think I kind of touched upon this right talent in my first response. So I think we'll be able to define the right talent here, because then we kind of take those measures to retain, engage the right talent within the organization as well. So what exactly is finding the right talent? There's a difference between, finding the best person for the job versus the right person for the job. Now, to start with, TA, people would come to TA, they would want absolutely, functional person who is really fit for the job as per the skill set required, the role, right? I believe now we have also coached leaders, or leaders have changed that mindset, that it is equally important for us to evaluate those candidates from a culture fitment standpoint, and they should align with the core values of the organization. That's where you really are associated to the purpose or the values of the organization in the longer run as well. Then managing the ROI, or let's say, doing that cost benefit analysis is really important. There is cutthroat competition. There's constant pressure, on companies to reduce costs. And I think in the last 6 months, we have seen that vibe across industries, across organizations. But I think that they're also, having the right talent with the right budget. When you are paying for the, candidate in the outside world, it is important that you are doing that cost benefit analysis, right? And unfortunately, this impacts the overall ability of the organization to recruit the right talent. But it is important to note that hiring an employee within the cost per hire metrics, is really important. And that's also challenging sometimes when there is a gap between demand and supply. Again, the third point that I have in mind is creating a flexible, talent acquisition strategy. I think in the last 1 or 2 years have been really inconsistent. There was a huge demand, especially let's say for the tech talent. Now, if you look at in the last 6 months, the industry has changed quite a bit. You have heard a lot of layoffs, even from the big organizations. But it is inconsistent from where we were seeing a war for talent, then to layoffs. Companies really struggling to find their foot in the industry. So we are really working on an inconsistent plan. And internally also, we are often, we work on tight deadlines, stiff budgets, quality guidelines, and several other metrics. So I think marrying the external and the internal priorities and having that agility in the overall strategy is really important to get that right person, and having that right blueprint for the organization. The fourth one will be around talent engagement. Now, of course, as I said, hiring is one part of it, or attraction is one part of it. There has to be a constant engagement with that right talent, right? I don't think that the job of talent acquisition ends only, once we are hiring a person and, we have made an offer. The bigger challenge is to keep that talent engaged, because I think it's a no-brainer that those highly talented, or that, top 10% of the talent in the industry would have more than one job offers. And this is particularly happening nowadays very commonly, that there are more job offers in hand. We used to cut down on one job offer and say that, okay, I'll not go for an interview also. Now people are having multiple offers when they come for an interview, right? So I think having that engagement, and it is not only about the money, I believe it is also about, as I said, how do you associate with the organization, how do you associate with the purpose, how do you really associate with the values of the organization, how do you engage them with the kind of learning that you can provide them in that role, right? So although all those things matters a lot when you have to engage the talent. The fifth one will be building a strong employer brand. We have touched upon it earlier. I'll just try and summarize, because I think it is really important to have a strong employer brand for attracting and engaging the right talent, whether it's on social media, like LinkedIn, Glassdoor, right? I think website like Glassdoor provide an easy platform for employees and candidates to bash their employers. And mostly we have seen, people who are unhappy would go there and write reviews rather than people who are really happy in their jobs. You have to push them to write something positive, because once you're happy, you're content, and you're just focused too much on your job and not going to social media or Glassdoor to write a positive review. So it is also our endeavor that employee feedback reaches the external environment, and we leverage on those employees as brand advocates. That really helps. So, and the last one would be implementing and using the implementing the technology in the overall talent acquisition space, because advancements in technology such as automation or AI that we talked about, they have undoubtedly helped significantly in finding the right talent for the organization. And so much so that our dashboards today are automated. We don't have to really go and dig data like we used to do earlier in Excel sheets and all. And your decisions are more data based. You really look at insights. You try and look at where are you losing talent, where is mostly you're getting the offer drops, or let's say in what part of the talent acquisition funnel the problem lies, right? So all that data, dissecting that data really helps you make informed decisions, so that you can really solve the root cause of the problem and not really touching the surface of the problem, right? So collecting that information, processing that data now has become automated. And of course that mindset of a TA professional also should be technologically oriented to do that. So I think that's really the top 6 call outs for me in terms of the challenges, if you ask me.
Very neatly described, I must say, and I'm sure our audience will resonate with it too. That all the advices, insights that you shared are pretty much action oriented. So I believe this will be really helpful for our audiences also. And with that, we come to the end of this conversation today. Once again, I did not mention, Nitin, how an absolute delight it was listening to your thoughts and advice throughout. So, for our audiences, once again, thank you for joining us today. We will be back with yet another exciting conversation very soon. Till then, everyone, stay safe and keep talking.